Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I do watercolor tutorials. We do a new project every week, and this is what we are painting today, lemons. Aww. Fun, bright, loose. We don't have an outline with this project, but that's okay. We're just working with basic shapes here, and I will break that down for you. We are using two brushes, around 6 and around 2. These are our go-to brushes. They're Princeton Heritage Series, synthetic sable hair. Great brushes.
Red-handled.
Red-handled. Our colors that we are using, and you can see my palette got a little bit mixed together here, so sorry about that. But we have lemon yellow, fitting for this project.
Yes.
We have...
And that's it.
And that's all you need. We have sea blue, which is one of my favorite colors. We have magenta. And we have leaf green, which kind of mixed in with my pink. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit. Those 4. We are going to do this lemon in 4 steps, the lemons. Very first step, we're going to put the whole lemons in. Second step, we're going to do the leaves. Third step, we're going to do the lemon slices. And fourth step is just any finishing details. It's always a good idea to take a step back before you feel complete with the painting, walk away from it for a few minutes and see if there's any other parts compositionally that you need to adjust. I don't actually take a step back in this tutorial, but I lean back.
Yeah.
And I look like this. And I have a... I go, let's move on. Okay.
The thumb look?
A thumb.
Yeah, it's the thumb.
I just want to put a thumb over it. Okay, let's do our oath. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
And I like starting that way because, gosh, we really... First of all, maybe you're not like me, but I feel like a lot of us are competitive. I know that I am. And so when I would like paint with people, I'd be like, my painting's gotta be the best painting. And like, you know, looking at other people's, but that takes the joy out of it. And also when you're just starting out, you have to give yourself a little bit of grace. Your painting is gonna look different from my painting, from your neighbor's painting. We've all have been painting for different times and different lengths. We all have different skills. It's okay. The point of this is just the joy of it, of creating. That's all it is.
I can paint a killer invisible castle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're really good at that.
Yeah, I just have a lot of what seem to be blank pieces of paper on my walls.
Okay, for our warm-ups, we're going to go over a few different things. We're going to go over values, wet on wet, some leaves, and some thin lines. Values, I go over this pretty much every time. It's very important. It's the lightness and darkness of a color, not about the color itself. If you paint with us a lot and you're used to these warm-ups, SJ Sarge has a little timestamp on YouTube that you can just click right to and it will skip to when we start painting, so you don't have to watch this if you don't want to. Just giving you options.
Pretty convenient.
We try to make things easier for you. Okay, so when you're doing values, to get a dark value, you're going to use a lot of paint. So here's a dark value of my blue. You can see I have a lot of blue going on. And I dip my brush a couple of times, hit it off the side of the cup, and I have a lighter value. And this is the magic of watercolor, is you don't need white to get more of a value, you just need water. And you can just keep on going if you want, but here, it's just a quick way to show you that all the different values you can get with a color. So when we're doing our lemons, you can see that for us to make them seem a little bit more dimensional is I have a darker value kind of on the bottom or on the side, kind of where it starts to turn away from the light, and we have a highlight and we have a mid value. And that just helps our lemon have form, where if it was just a completely even value, it would appear flat. Wet on wet. So wet on wet is when you take a wet surface and drop wet onto an already wet surface. So if I just have water here and I want to drop in some wet paint, and it will spread. This is where accidental art comes into it. It's very cool. It's one of my favorite things. Another thing that you can do is actually drop water into a wet area. So if I just drop water into my dark value, you can see that it actually is going to create these blooms, which are one of my favorite things to make in watercolor. Isn't that pretty?
So pretty. Last year in November was the first time I ever saw watercolor in action / blooms. Booms.
Booms.
Dang it. I sound like a fool.
You don't, Keenan. You don't. That reminds me of that one time when you were like, when I meant to say brush and I said bush, and you just were like,
Bush.
bush. But you did it in your deep voice. I'm like, did I just say bush? It happens to the best of us. Okay, now for our thin lines, because we're going to do some thin lines with our twigs, you're going to use your round 2. You're going to pick up some paint. And in order to do thin lines, you want to have a vertical hold on your brush, so that's straight up and down, so you're just barely touching the tip of your brush to your paper, and you're doing light pressure. So this is a thin line. And the thing with light pressures is sometimes you're being so light that you sometimes skip on the paper. I never let that bother me, because it's like, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Get over it. Because trying to go back in and fill in that line without it looking weird is really hard to do. So I've just learned to like not get mad about it, because whenever I would try and fix it, that's kind of what it would look like. And that to me is more distracting than that. So I just leave it. If you're pressing hard, this is how thick of a line you can get with that round 2. So really practice barely touching that very tip of that paintbrush to your paper. So that's how we're going to do some twigs, like so. And then the very last thing is our leaves. For me, I just make sure my leaves are narrow at the top and bottom and wide in the middle. So essentially I just take a color and I can just outline them. So I'm going to do a curved and another curved and then fill it in. Sometimes I leave a little white line in the middle to kind of act as a vein. If you do a leaf and it's not very pointy at the top and it's kind of more curved like so, you can always reshape your leaf. So let's say you painted that and you're like, that leaf looks really weird. Well, go back in, give it a little bit of a point, and there you go, there's your leaf. There is a way where you could do a leaf in a single brush stroke. It's a little bit more difficult. It's all about pressure control. So if I take my round 6, really light pressure to a point and then push down and then lift back up to a point, that can be a leaf. That's a 1-stroke leaf. I do both. So whatever you guys feel comfortable with, you can do.
Also, if you can draw lips, then you got your leaves down.
Okay, I used to describe leaf making as if you're making an eyeball or lips. And Keenan pointed out that that is more difficult than just saying a leaf shape. Because I would be like, kind of like you're drawing a mouth or an eyeball. And Keenan's like, or a leaf. Listen.
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay, we're good to go. Let's get started. So, for my lemons, I have my yellow. I'm going to mix a little bit of my yellow and magenta off to the side to get an orange. And also, I want to mix a little bit of my lemon yellow with green. Because if you look at lemons, sometimes they have hints of like warmth to them, and then depending on where they are in their ripeness, they also have hints of green on them too. So I want to make sure I have both colors ready to go. So here's my yellow green, here's my like orange yellow, and here's my pure yellow. And I'm going to start with just putting the lemons in. So I'm using my round 6. I'm grabbing my pure lemon yellow color, and I'm going to start here. Again, you can follow me and try and go off the reference photo exactly. Because we're freehanding it, it is going to be different because it's very difficult to copy things in the places exactly how they are. So don't stress if your lemons are off a little bit, because mine are going to be, yours are going to be, that's okay. That's not the point. The point is just to do a lemon pattern. So I'm going to start with this guy here. So that's kind of on the upper right hand side. And lemons are round that have a point to them at the top and at the bottom. And the nice thing about lemons is sometimes they're really funky shaped. So if your lemon comes out a little bit wonky, there's going to be a lemon out there that looks like it, so don't stress. After I outline it, I'm going to use water and fill it in, except for I'm going to leave a white space to act as my glare. I'm not going to fill that in yet. Then while it's still wet, I'm going to take some of my orange yellow and drop it in kind of on the bottom sides to give it a darker value. And it should kind of spread and do its own thing since the yellow is wet. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow green and maybe a little bit kind of on the top, because I feel like lemons stay a little bit more green where the leaves and the twigs are coming out. You know what I mean? Than the bottom. Yeah.
I don't look at a lot of lemons though.
Well, maybe you should.
I do need to eat more fruits. I'm not going to start with lemons though.
It is really good for you to put slices of lemon in your water.
That's true.
I used to do that a lot.
Also cucumber slices.
That sounds good. Okay, 2 things I want to tell you guys. 1, we're going to have a lot of things going on this paper. So if one of your lemons looks a little bit wonky, instead of like over messing with it too much or like freaking out about it, just move on to another area, because odds are as you fill in the rest of the painting, you're not going to notice that funky lemon anymore. And sometimes the best thing to do is just to drop color in and move on. Like this, I know I'm messing with too much. I'm messing with this lemon too much. I feel myself doing it, so I'm going to
step back.
I'm going to move on. Move on. Don't mess with things too much. But if you want to drop in more yellow, just for brightness, you can.
Don't mess with it too much.
Don't mess with it. But I'm going to
here's
keep
an
messing with
idea.
it. Stop messing with it, but I'm just going to keep painting on it. It's fine. Okay, now I'm going to stop. Okay. So there's 1 lemon. Let's keep on adding our lemons. So down here on the right-hand side, kind of more in the middle, I have 2 lemons right next to each other. So again, I'm just going to kind of do a teardrop shape and then do a small little growth on the bottom. Like so. Fill it in using water, leaving a white space for the highlight. While it's still wet, grabbing some orange and just kind of dropping it in there. This one I'm just going to leave, okay? You see me leaving it alone. I'm moving on to the one behind it. So the one behind it is kind of halfway hidden, so you're only seeing some of it, like so. And let's put a little bit of a shadow on that. Again, you are free to shape your lemons after you initially draw them or put them down. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay. Next one, we'll do one kind of right here. Now, the one thing I do want you to pay attention to as you're putting your lemons in is you got to be careful not to make implied lines. So if I were to do a lemon right here, and another lemon right here, that's going to create a strong implied line that goes horizontal in the middle of my composition. So as I'm putting in my another lemon, I want to see where my lemons are already placed and make sure they're not perfectly in line with each other. So if you look at my reference photo, you can see that I don't have strong, they're not in line with each other on a grid. So try and watch that. If it happens like once, it's not a huge deal. But your brain is going to want to do that anyway, because our brain likes pattern, our brain likes grid. So if you're not paying attention to it, it's really easy to do everything perfectly in line. And then when you're done, you're going to be like, whoa, I have some weird lines going on compositionally. So I'm going to put one here so it's not in line with this one, and I'm going to have it angled this way. And again, some lemons are more round than others. Some of them are longer. I've seen a bunch of different lemon shapes. So whatever you come up with is going to be fine. Ran out of yellow because it bled in with all my puddles right there. Okay, I'm going to do another lemon here in this corner. And I have to say, after looking at the lemon that I messed around a lot with and the one that I just dropped color and moved on, I like the one that I just dropped color and moved on more. I think that's a cooler texture than what's happening right here. So I know it's really scary to just drop something and move to something else and not to like overwork it and kind of like baby it, but sometimes your results are better. So it's scary, but you guys can do it. Okay, I have another lemon kind of popping up here. And then I have two more lemons over here. That one got real wonky real quick. Look at that guy. But that's okay, you can reshape it.
It's just the angle we're looking at it. You know?
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine. Got another lemon behind it. Put in some shadow. So, this actually brings up a good point. I know that we talked about value. Okay. When we talked about value, we said that it's all about the lightness and darkness of a color. So there's two different ways that you can add a darker value to a painting. So you can use the same hue. So if I were to use the same hue, I would be using only yellow and then just adjusting my water to it. Does that make sense? You can also adjust value by hue. So I'm using orange to act as another color to bring in a darker value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I like to adjust my values using colors because I feel like it makes your painting richer. When you do it just only on the value, it sometimes cannot appear as colorful. So that is why I am adjusting my values using a little bit of another color, but they are separate. So just know that you can get different values with one color. A great example was the birch tree tutorial that we did. That was a monochromatic painting. We only used one color, but you can see the variation of value you get. So that is very, very good to know. It's really important to be able to recognize values and understand the relation to each other. But your painting can be richer if you adjust your values while also adjusting the color. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to do another lemon here. And if you paint a lemon and you like paint the white spot and forget to leave the highlight, that's not the end of the world. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it. So this is me, so this is only yellow. So you can see that I have different values with only yellow. And then here's me dropping in the orange for like this shading shadow. You can put a little bit of green in there too. Now if you do green and orange together, it's going to create kind of like a brown, which I don't think is bad either. It just depends on what your color is, what you're going for color-wise. I want to make this one rounder. Okay. And we'll do another one over here. You can see I'm also kind of changing the angles of the lemons. Some are slightly angled to the right, some are straight up and down, some are angled to the left. I did that on purpose to make it feel more like a pattern that could be stopped and started at any time. Does that make sense? Yeah. But you can have them all going one direction if you want. That is completely up to you. Sorry, this lemon is just getting wonkier and wonkier.
It was born, dropped on its side.
Yeah.
So, just rolled back up on the vine, had a bruise already.
Lemons kind of coming out, going different directions. Okay, we're gonna stop there with our lemons. And okay, actually I'm gonna do one more thing, sorry. All the white spaces that I've left in my lemons, I'm gonna take just a damp brush and blend the colors in. Because I want this to be the lightest value. So I'm kind of borrowing the color that's around it. Don't overwork it or else you'll lose that light value. This one, I didn't put any. So like here, this is a great example. This bottom right lemon is one value. Look how flat this looks compared to these that we have going on here. Do you see? Do you see? Sorry, that's from another movie. Sorry about that.
Wow. That's scary.
It's like making them watch a slideshow. It's kind of a scary movie.
Do you know what it's called?
No. No, I can't remember. Anyways.
Interesting.
Sorry I did that to you, Keenan. That was a little aggressive. But I was trying to be funny from a movie. Anyways, so I just want to show you guys, and also there's definitely lemon patterns. If you're going for a more illustrative style, there's nothing wrong with having it be a single value. Illustrative styles tend to not pay attention to creating form as much. So if that is more your style and that's what you like, nothing wrong with that at all. I'm just trying to show you the differences. So whatever you want to intentionally do, you can do. So, yes, form, value, all of that fun stuff. I'm going to put some orange in here because that just got too brown for me. I want brighter yellow. Okay. All right, now we're going to do our leaves. And I have my blue here to mix in with my green, because for my greens on leaves, I always like to mix in other colors. So I have my pure green right here. I'm going to mix some blue with green right here. And also, if you want to mix some green with yellow, you can do that too. So hopefully you'll have, and maybe a little bit of orange if you want like a desaturated green. You put in a little bit of that magenta, and that will tone that green down right quick. Okay, so once you have that going for you, you can start with your leaves. And I just kind of like free falling. Yeah. With that, so I'm just gonna start making leaves. Now, if you want to do some of the techniques that we did in the beginning, like wet on wet on this, leaves are the perfect place to do that, because it's just solid color. And so you can do water drops in there. If you want to do a wet, like just mainly water leaf, and then drop in the blues just to see what's going to happen, you can do that. You can do the one stroke leaf. Now, some of these leaves are coming out straight blue. I'm okay with that. I actually think that's kind of cool. So, here, we're going to do another one here. If it's easier for you to put your twigs in first, you can do that too. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. If you want some of your leaf to go over your lemon, that is great to do. Just make sure your lemon is dry before you try and paint over it, or else that green will bleed into it, which isn't bad. You can see here that my green bled into my lemon on this, that my lemon wasn't dry when I painted my leaf, but I actually thought that effect was cool. So if you like that effect where it kind of blends and bleeds together, then you can re-wet your lemon and then do your green leaf, or you can just work really quickly and paint quick, and then that way it's not dry when you go to do your leaves. I just really like having different colors going on with my leaves to bring in some visual interest, because I feel like if all of my leaves are the exact same hue of green and shade of green, I don't know, it's just not as visually stimulating, interesting. I don't know.
It's not as fun.
Not as fun for me. That's also an artistic personal preference. So if you like that they're all, you think it has a really calming like effect to do them all the same, go for it. There's nothing wrong with you guys making this your own and making those artistic choices. That's why painting's so fun, because you get to decide these things, you know. And you can see that I'm not really stressing out about the composition of my leaves. I know that I still have lemon slices to put in, but what I like to do is, that's kind of like, how do I say this? Your painting's going to inform itself as it goes. So I'm not saying like, make sure you leave 3 inches between all of these sections for your sliced lemons, because you are going to have different spaces than I do, since this is not an outline, and you put the lemon slices as a way to fill and complete the composition. Yours will not look exactly like mine, and so I think trying to be exact about it is not helpful. I think if I show you, yeah, this is how you fill in spaces, and then you can use leaves and lemon slices and twigs to fill in holes and adjust as you go. I think that's way more informational for you guys, because then as you start painting yourself, you know how to step back from a painting and say, hey, there's this really big white space right here. What can I do to fill it? So that's why I'm just like, put leaves here and there. And then we'll put the lemon slices in, and then that's what our very last step is to step back and be like, compositionally, is there an empty space on this paper that I need to fill? And you can do any of the items in here to kind of help fill it. You know what I mean? What did you say?
I said yes
Yeah?
in Russian.
Oh, what was
Da.
da? Da?
Da. No is нет.
Okay. And remember to also grab water to get different values for your leaves. All of my leaves are pretty even valued. Down here I'm starting to get variation, which I think is actually more interesting than what's going on up here, but that's okay. Not a big deal. I could always add lighter value leaves if I feel like they're missing. That is not a huge deal at all. Now, if you notice that you're starting to get fuzzy edges on some of your leaves, a lot of that has to do with just the concentrated dyes that are in this paint. So you either need to do a little bit more water in there, or lay your water down first and then drop in your dark, strong color, and it shouldn't fuzz out. Okay, I need to cover this pencil mark that I still don't know how that got there.
There's not even a pencil on the table.
Like, it's almost amazing. And it wasn't there when I first started painting, was it?
I don't know.
I feel like I would have noticed it, but maybe not.
I remember. Our memories can't be trusted.
No, they cannot. Okay. And again, your painting is going to inform you as you go. So even though I'm finishing up on doing my leaves here, I might need to put more leaves in a little bit after I do my slices. Let's do our twigs first though. So I'm going to switch to my round 2, and I'm going to mix my magenta and my green together, because these are complementary colors and they're going to make brown. And if you want to put a little bit of yellow in there to make your brown warmer, you can. And then using thin lines, light pressure, I'm going to put my little twigs in. And you can kind of have the branch get a little bit thicker, as if it kind of like broke off. And you can see I kind of just had it stop. That's okay. It doesn't have to like trail off the paper. Sometimes it can. But if you're not close to an edge, and if I just made this like trail off, that's a pretty long line that you're putting in your composition. So that's why I just had it stop. And we're allowed to do things like that because we're the artists, you know? Yeah. It's our vision that we're making here. We get to make all the decisions. This one is just a little, kind of little stump guy. Okay, so that's good. Again, we still have some spaces, but don't freak out because we still have our lemon slices. And then after we put in our lemon slices, we can decide if there's other places that we need to address. So your lemon slices, you can do this using your round 6 or your round 2, whatever is easier for you to control. And you just want to make sure that you are actually leaving white spaces because that's how we're going to kind of make the shape. So a lemon slice, I'm going to do half a circle like so. And this is the rind. Okay. And then it's going to go up the middle like so. And then I'm going to do slices, like pie slices. So here's a pie slice. I'm going to fill it in. Again, I'm leaving white spaces for glare. Then I'm going to do another pie slice. Leave spaces for glare. And another pie slice. Leave spaces for glare. Now, you don't want your white spaces to be too thick. So here I feel like my white space is a little bit too thick, so I'm just going to thicken my pie slice a little bit to make up for it. And then I'm going to use a little bit of orange on the rind for color. And you can even kind of drop it in the middle there. And that's how we do our lemon slices. So again, it's going to be half a circle. Kind of more half an oval, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do the top and then pie slices or pizza slices, depending on your preference. Are you more of a pie person or a pizza person, Keenan?
Definitely pizza.
Yeah, me too. Pie's not my favorite.
No, I can only eat pumpkin pie.
Although I will say, when I went to your family for Thanksgiving, your sister-in-law made a delicious pecan chocolate pie, and I truly loved it. That was Hillary.
I didn't eat it at all.
Well, I ate 3 slices.
Well, that could be why I didn't get any.
I might have eaten that entire pie, but there was an entire dessert table, so I don't feel that bad because there was a lot of options.
There were a lot of delicious options on that table for sure.
But I was just like, dang, this is so good. I never had chocolate pecan pie before. It was amazing.
I still haven't.
Sorry about that. It was funny, her husband saw me get a 3rd slice. He's like, that pie's good, huh? And I was like, yes.
What's your name? Who are you?
Who are you? Just kidding, I know who that is.
But does he know who you are?
Nope. Some people are like, why is this blonde pregnant woman eating all of the pie? Who invited her? That's funny. That's a good point. People had probably no idea who I was, and I've just taken all of the dessert.
That's awesome.
Okay. And then I'm going to add a little bit of green to this next lemon slice, because if you add too much orange, it starts to look like oranges, which isn't bad. This could be like a citrus print instead of just lemons. But So here's my yellow. Add a little bit of green in there. Just on the rind. You don't need to do it in the middle. On the
When you say rind, please roll the R.
I can't roll my R's.
What?
Oh.
Oh, you did it. Rind.
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 Please put it only on the rind.
Just say rind.
Just, you don't like my made up accent for the whole sentence?
Actually, I do, but I don't know what other people think.
Listen, I have to stop caring what people thought about me long ago. I actually did read this. I was reading this book, and there was this quote in there that I really liked that said, there's no way that you can make a difference in one person's life and then also not be considered a joke in someone else's life, because there is opposition in all things. True. And I was just like, that's very true. Like, I'm sure that some people get really irritated with the way that we laugh and like talk and go off topic. But I think some people also appreciate it, and that's just you have to have both. There's no way that every single person is going to appreciate those qualities about you.
I agree.
You know, it was just a really great reminder that it's like, there is opposition in all things. There's no way for you to make a difference in someone's life, you know, without also like looking like a joke in someone else's.
I had an experience at some military training where, because I try to make everything light, it's easier for me to focus if I don't feel too much pressure.
Yeah.
So at this military training, everything's taken fairly seriously, and I made everything a little lighter.
Yeah.
But this one person in the entire class, there was probably, I think there were 60 of us, he literally told me in a practice, we had this, it was an interview where we had to talk to our classmates, and he said, I don't like you.
Oh.
He said, you make a joke of everything, and I think it's inappropriate.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I thought of you as a great stand-up example of how we should treat everything. I was like, I'm really sorry I've offended you.
And what did he say?
He was just a fairly dry person, so he just kind of
He was just like, well,
moved on to the next person and didn't really, I mean, he didn't need to apologize, but it was just kind of aggressive, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't have to tell you that you're liked, Keenan. I mean, somebody just sent you oranges, for crying out loud.
Listen, Susan sent it to us as a team, and they're gone.
They're gone. We ate those oranges.
I think we ate them on Monday when they showed up.
Were so good.
Yeah, and I haven't emailed her back yet either, and I feel kind of bad.
Susan, please never stop sending those oranges, because let me tell you, it makes our day here in little Hamilton, Missouri, where we don't get delicious citrus, especially in
the winter. Yes.
Thank you for finishing my sentences
welcome.
while I'm painting. Okay, this slice got a little bit bigger, but that's all right. Not a big deal.
The paper tilted.
Put
It's
some
just a
green.
perspective thing.
It's just perspective. This lemon slice is closer to our eye than the other ones. That's why. Okay, I need one kind of come in here. I need one here. And then I can kind of take a step back and see what I can do to fill in spaces. We are almost done, you guys. We're on step 3 of 4. If you need to turn your paper while you're painting, nothing wrong with that.
You just looked really concerned about something.
Because I turned my paper upside down, I forgot like the angles, these pie slices, like where the point went.
Yeah.
I disoriented myself by turning the paper. So I'm like, wait, where does the point go?
Where'd the slice go? Looking for a different
I'm
slice.
like, what did I do? Okay. Let's do one more. Maybe just poking out here.
This is a hard painting to track on the mostly stationary side camera.
Yeah, because we're kind of going all over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we put in all of our elements, and this is where, oh, look how pretty my paper towel is.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful. This is where you need to take a step back and look at the spacing of your painting and see if there's some areas where there's more space than others and what you can do about it. So for me, I feel like I have a pretty big space right here, and I have more space over here than I do in other parts of the painting. So then now you kind of go into problem solving mode. Okay, what can I do here? There's not enough room to do a whole nother lemon with leaves. I could probably extend my leaves on either of these branches and kind of fill in over here. I could probably do another lemon slice right there. And then you guys just get to decide what you think is best for you. So I'm just gonna like problem solve out loud. So hopefully if you guys like hear my thought process, that might help you. So for me, if I do leaves coming out here, the only thing I'm nervous of if I add to this is that then this leaf branch becomes like really big and overpowering. You don't want, by filling in spaces or trying to cover up spaces, you don't want another element to then overpower it, which then just brings attention to it anyway. Does that make sense? So you want it to feel like it belongs there and doesn't distract. So I could put more leaves here, but I think it would make this too big. So I would actually probably do another lemon slice here. And since this is small, I can probably do one that's the same size here, and it would be okay. If I did my lemon slice too big, then that would make it feel too congested in that area too. So I know this is tricky, but this is great practice for trying to understand the spacing and composition and feeling of a painting. If it's easier for you to like sketch it out, and if you want to like sketch it there first to see what feels better, you can do that. I usually just go for it because I'm like, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm just going to throw this away, and it's just a piece of paper. So I'm not afraid to just like go for it. But if you're really concerned about it, then you can sketch it. Now, looking at this space over here, I don't think I have enough room for a lemon slice. This is too tight. So I pretty much just have room for leaves. I think if I extend the leaves here in a lighter value, then it will fill the space, but it won't make it feel heavy. And this is where you can use values to your advantage. When you make a dark value item, it will bring more weight or attention to it. If you do a lighter value, then it fills the space without bringing weight to it. Does that make sense? So here I can just be like, okay, I'm going for a light value, so I'm gonna make sure I'm using a lot of water, picking up just a little bit of color, and I'm just going to extend these leaves here. Okay? Once that dries, I'll add the twigs, and then now this space doesn't feel so empty. I think I actually might do a leaf here too, because this is a very like thick section of white right here. So even your white spaces can create implied lines. So no biggie, I'm just gonna grab some green and I'm gonna do a leaf poking up to break up this chunk of white space. Yep. Okay. Also pay attention to your edges. How do your edges feel? This feels a little bit bare down here. This is where leaves are great. I can just have a leaf sticking out. Maybe another one coming up here. It doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe one coming here. Okay. This doesn't have value change, so I'm going to add a little bit of orange on the bottom. Stronger yellow. Just needed to change it up. That yellow was too flat and even. This lemon got really wonky really quick. Let's smooth that out. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to do my lemon slice right. I'm going to have it go this way. Do I want it to go that way? Okay, I'm just going to explain my thought process here. If I have it go rounded this way and flat, it's going to mimic this one. They'll be at the same angle. Sometimes putting things that are at the very same angle right next to each other will create an implied line in your composition. So maybe if I flip it going this way, that could work better actually. Yeah, I'm going to flip it. And let's just go for it, because it's just a piece of paper. I'm starting to get scared, but this is where you remind yourself, it's just a piece of paper. My value is not defined by how well this painting turns out, so it's okay even if I mess up. Okay, I'm going to just go for it. Boop. Okay, that feels better to me. Yes?
Yep.
Yes. I do, okay, now I'm just like kind of going over everything. This space is kind of bothering me. I don't know if I want to do another lemon slice though, so maybe I'll do another leaf. Just kind of poke it out. And I want blue over here. Okay, I think that feels pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to add my twigs on these. Just little guys. Okay. Oh, I kind of like the length of this one. That's pretty. That's it. We're done. We did it. Good job, you guys. If you painted this with us, share it. We would love to see it. Everybody is going to look different. Remember, this is a great, great project in problem solving, like we just did there, and working on our composition. If it's harder for you to be able to see your composition, put it up and walk away from it, and then look at it from far away. Sometimes when you're this close to it, it's really hard to see because you're like in it. So don't be afraid to take a step back, even walk away from a bit for about 10 minutes and then come back to it. It makes you come at it with fresh eyes, and so you can see if there's any spots that are kind of sticking out to you in a bad or a good way. If you're on Instagram, you can tag us at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. We have a wonderful Facebook group if you want to see what other people are creating. It's for the sole purpose of you guys being able to share your work and collaborate and have a community, and that is called Let's Make Art Watercolor. So please request to join that, post your work, talk to other people about their work, because the more that we just put ourselves out there, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not the best, then that's showing people that it's okay to create. It's okay to create simply for the reason of creating. That's all we need to do. It doesn't need to be perfect to be worthy to share. You don't need to be a professional artist to be worthy to share, because I think we can all do with a little bit of creativity in our lives. It's good for our brains. If you need any of these supplies, you can get them at letsmakeart.com. And that's it. Bye.